the pipe split open, hurled through the air, hit him on his hit his hip, blew his hip off, blew his leg off. I got a phone call that he'd been in a firework accident. I thought he'd held a firecracker or something and hurt his fingers or something, you know. And so they went in to do that operation. Well, there was too much of the nerve gone, so they couldn't do that. So in my mind, I visualized those two nerves sparking and sending a spark and pulling and tugging him. Without that, he would never ever be able to walk. You know, today he can walk. You know, there was so it happened. God hears and answers prayers, and I'm a 100% believer. I don't know if it's God, it's the universe, but there's something out there that hears and answers prayers, and I'm a 100% believer in that. So,
amen. Welcome into another Key David podcast, and we got the whole crew with us today. I got David the Lion Douglas, Trevor the Key Keys, and that's right, the real life Indiana Jones joining us, Terry Carter. This is the second time we've had him on, and I apologize. My hair's getting longer, my beard's getting longer. I'm 11 days or so into my Ramadan, and I'm really frustrated. If I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really frustrated. I thought, I'm going to lose weight. This is going to be great. I'm up 5 pounds. I'm running 3 miles a day. I'm only eating 1 meal, and I've gained 5 pounds. What the heck? I don't understand what's going on. I don't know how. I don't know why. But I can tell you this. I got to pee every hour on the hour, and I can't explain why that's happening either. But I am drinking lots of good vitamins and nutrients, and I've no Diet Coke, no Coke Zero. That's been a sad time. But nevertheless, we have a fun show for you today. Now, I got a lot of people say to me, gosh, you guys are all over the map in your guests that you have on. Here at Zion Media, what we're striving to do is we're like Fox 13, okay? Sometimes you're going to get the news. Sometimes you're going to get The Simpsons. Sometimes you're going to get the NFL, and you're going to get Seinfeld and a bunch of different stuff. And if you don't like one of the episodes, then don't watch it. Don't unsubscribe. Just, yes, like Trevor's showing there, just change the channel. It's okay. And for some of you, you really like the deep doctrine stuff. For that, I would guide you to The Lost Doctrines with Rob Warcup, or Unsealed with L, or those kinds of things. And tune into those episodes. But if you like giants and treasure and Nephilim, and I don't know what else, this is what Trevor loves. To me, I'm just like, I'm going to tune out right now. That's what's going to happen. I'm changing the channel. Even though I'll be here, I'm changing the channel because this is really what Trevor loves giants, and he loves treasure hunting, and he loves that stuff. And to me, I'm just like, whatever, but cool. I'm glad you like it because it's not really my thing. So with that, Trevor, let's get into treasure hunting and giants.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no cooler person on the planet in this genre than Terry Carter. And I mean that sincerely. Terry, welcome in. Welcome.
Thank you. And that I'm a fake, man. I just know a lot of people that know a lot of different things, and I've got to, lean on their knowledge and stuff. But I have a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of great people.
So humble.
You have interviewed everybody who has claimed to have seen a giant, not seen a giant, but found giant repositories or caves or whatever. Like your interviews. How old is your YouTube channel? I'm gonna throw it up while we're talking.
Geez, I don't really know. It's maybe 8 years old, maybe more. I really don't know.
Bro, look at Terry. 16 years ago, you posted this video.
Yep.
Brewer's Cave trailer 11 years ago. So, I mean, you've been doing this thing since David was 15 years old, It's true. Maybe not that long, but
you're throwing that up there, and you can see my the second video in, my grandson mangled by a homemade bomb.
What happened there?
Man, have I got a story to tell there, but that's kind of the reason I wanted to start my YouTube channel was I knew a lot of people, and I thought it would be cool for him to get some recognition, to I thought I'd have this little kid interviewing all these old timers and things like that. Well, he got hounded by the news so much when he was a kid that he just did not want the limelight at all. So he never ever did want to do it. So it took me a while to get off the ground and get started. But he's the reason why I kind of wanted to start a YouTube channel. It just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But man, I got one heck of an inspirational story on that subject there.
So I got a question. Should we watch the video first, or should you tell us the story and then watch the video?
I can tell you the story and then you can watch the video.
Let's hear it.
So it's not about giants, but it's an inspirational story to me. My grandson there, we was supposed to go out to Flaming Gorge, and on the weekend of the 24th, and I had to work that day, and so he was going to go the next day, and so he went over to his other grandparents' house, and he borrowed their bike, pedal bike, and he was riding around the neighborhood. Well, there was this guy who decided he'd make a homemade firework, and he made it out of a 4-inch pipe, 18 inches long. He welded a bottom plate on it, filled the whole thing clear full of black powder, and lit it, thinking
a pipe bomb.
It turned into a pipe bomb. He thought it would be like a Roman candle, sparkle out the top or something. When he lit it just as my grandson turned the corner on his bike, and that thing turned into a pipe bomb. The pipe split open, hurled through the air, hit him on his hit his hip, blew his hip off, blew his leg off. It was his leg was just holding on by the flap of his butt cheek, and his intestines was hanging out, and cut the main artery, and why that main artery wasn't bleeding, I don't know, but I got the phone call that he'd been in a firework accident. I thought he'd held a firecracker or something and hurt his fingers or something. Well, we get to the hospital. I grabbed his mom, and we get to the hospital, and the doctors come out, and they tell us that they can't stop the bleeding. He died on the ride to the helicopter. He died a couple times on the operating table, and they couldn't stop the bleeding. When you get that news, that there's nothing, that it doesn't look good. They don't know that they don't think he's going to make it, and before this, I always hoped there was a God, but I didn't really know that there was a God. And I hope there was more to life than we're just here and we're dead and we're gone when it's over, but I didn't know. And I thought to myself while I'm in the hospital, what else can I do, but pray. I wasn't a praying man. I'm still not a praying man. And I thought, I remember the story of Garden of Gethsemane and Jesus praying, and he prayed so hard that, blood was coming out of his pores. And I'm thinking, you can only pray and say the same thing or say different things so much. So I thought, well, I'll just pray and say the same thing over and over. And Shane, you talk about the book Think and Grow Rich. I read that when I was younger too, and there was parts in there that I thought was pretty strange. The parts where he created his own seminar or his own round table and speaking to these people, and in his mind, he's projecting out there and doing things. And I thought, well,
The imaginary mastermind group is what he calls it.
Yeah. Well, I thought, why not? What's it going to hurt? I'm sitting in the hospital, going nuts, trying to, nothing I can do, not one thing but pray. And I thought, why not do a mastermind on the doctors? Why not do a mastermind? So I prayed and I visualized.
Wow.
I visualized that beams of light coming down and giving the doctors knowledge of what they needed to do. I visualized beams of light to my grandson, giving him the will to fight, to live, and that's all I did all that day, all that night, for forever. I would just say the same thing over in my mind, peace be with you, you're strong, God help this boy, and I just said the same thing over and over and over again, but I visualized, and my mind would wander, and I'd bring it back, and it'd wander, and I'd bring it back. Well, he came out of the operating okay, but they had to put him in a coma, and so every day there was something new that would go on with him. Every day there was a new problem that they didn't know if he was still going to make it, if he was still out of the woods. And I'm sitting in the hospital with him, and I happen to be the only one there at the time. And the anesthesiologist came in, and she tells me, she says, I got to tell you, I was terrified. I've never seen anything like that in my life, and I had to do the right thing, or he was going to die. And I didn't know what to do. And she says, all of a sudden, it just hit me that what I needed to do, and she says, I did it, and it was the right thing that I needed to do right then. And she says, I've never seen anything like this. She says there was 7 doctors in there, and they all had to be there in the same time, but they couldn't be in there at the same time. She says it was like there was angels orchestrating this. She says nobody said a word. The doctor that had to be in there right then was in there right then. As soon as he got done, nobody said a word. He moved out of the way, and the next doctor that had to be there right now was there right now. And she says it went on like that the whole operation. She says, I'd never seen anything like that. And I thought to myself, wow, maybe God does hear and answer prayers, but I still didn't know. I thought this was just a fluke. So there is hundreds of things like that happened. I got myself, after a week into this thing, that's all I was doing was focusing and mentally, in my mind, saying the same prayers over and over, the problem that was going on, and visually in my mind, working on things like he lost the nerves in his legs, so they said he'd never ever be able to walk again. So they thought maybe that they could go in and take a nerve out of the bottom of his leg and sew it into the part where it was missing, and then it would be like a highway where the nerves could follow that and grow back together, And so they went in to do that operation. Well, there was too much of the nerve gone, so they couldn't do that. So in my mind, I visualized those 2 nerves sparking and sending a spark and pulling and tugging. In my mind, I'm visualizing these things are pulling and tugging and sending a signal to each other so they can find each other. They told me that without that, he would never ever be able to walk. Today he can walk. There was hundreds, so many things like that I can't say that it was just chance. It was happenstance. It was a 100% miracle after miracle after miracle, hundreds of them that are just crazy. And it took a full blown miracle for even, things to happen. And I got in that zone where it didn't matter. From the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, that's all I was doing was thinking and praying, visualizing the problem of the day that had to be fixed. And it got so that even in the middle of the night when I woke up, my brain was visualizing and talking. It was just I was on autopilot. Well, at that same time, I had a friend who he had a pacemaker, and they went in, the pacemaker quit working, and so they was going in to put in a new pacemaker. And when they went to do it, they seen that he had MRSA all along this pacemaker, and they was worried if they pulled the pacemaker out, the MRSA would go in his heart, and it would spread all through his body, and so they couldn't do that. So they would put him on some kind of antibiotic, but they was going to have to replace his heart, replace the valves, or do something. I'm not sure what. So I was already in the zone for these prayers and asking God for help, and there was no question in my mind. God was helping, answering prayers, and I don't know because I don't deserve these prayers being answered like that, but I thought maybe I'm praying so much that I'm hogging up the prayer lines, and he just helping me just shut me up. I don't know. So my friend, I started doing the same thing with him because I was already in the zone with my grandson, and started visualizing that these little Pac-Men are going through his body and eating this MRSA off of his heart, off of his pacemaker. And in my mind, man, these little Pac-Man would eat it, and then they would come back. And it would grow back, and then day after day, it got where there was less and less in my mind. I'm seeing less and less MRSA, around this pacemaker. And then one day, in my mind, I see it's all gone. Well, they go to do the operation on his heart, give him and pull his heart out, change out all his valves or whatever they're going to do. And they go in there and all the MRSA is gone. It's all gone. And they don't know how, they don't know why, but I do.
I know why.
It was God.
You through the power that you have and the faith that you have connecting with God created that. And now there's a book called In Tune with the Infinite. And he literally prophesies, this was written in 1898. It's the book that inspired Napoleon Hill to write Think and Grow Rich. I tell people it's the greatest book that nobody knows about. It is literally called In Tune with the Infinite. And he talks about the power of the mind. If we'll concentrate on it, like you're saying, in a prayer, asking God to heal, it can be done. And I think sometimes we get so focused on, well, do I have the right oil? And do I lay my hands the right way? And do I say the prayer the correct way? And to me, you're getting lost in the sauce. And if nothing else, for all of you who just heard what Terry Carter is saying, listen, I thought we were talking about giants and treasure hunting. This is one of the most profound things that's ever been said on Zion Media. And so I hope people take note of what he did and that you understand you can do it too. You can do it too.
What 100%, in the beginning, I didn't know. I turned from a I didn't know if there was a God to 100%. There's no question in my mind, and
dude, you're gonna make me cry. I'm a baby. Prison makes you soft.
I didn't used to be a baby, but after my grandson, I went through that with my grandson. I become pretty emotional. I couldn't listen to the radio and hear the news and hear a family that was having a problem. I'd bust out bawling and I'd say a prayer for them because I knew the pain they was going through.
Jeez Louise.
I'll tell you, the whole entire time you were telling that story, I was like, my body was on fire, dude. Like, I was just like glowing. That was so powerful, Terry. And the concentrated will we talk about a lot of times on here in not a sacrilegious way about bending the will of God. And it's what you did. You literally bended the timeline, and your faith and your concentrated will called the divine to action. And I mean, that is just such an incredible story. And Shane's exactly right. Like, you feel so helpless. What is it that you can do? We've all probably been in a hospital. I haven't been on one and under that intense of a situation, but you're helpless. You're just like, what do I do? And they're absolutely useless. And you shifted everything from fear, from scarcity, from what's going to happen, what's going to
worry,
daughter worry, to just pure focusing your faith, your will on his outcome. And dude, that is so cool. Holy smokes.
And if
it took a lot of effort to do that, just focus, because your mind wanders you off and you got to bring yourself back. And it takes a lot of effort, but once you get in the zone, you're in the zone. And, I can't deny that God hears and answers prayers, but I remember hearing, in Sunday school, these old prophets and that they talked with God and then they'd wander off and veer off the wrong direction. I think, man, how is that even possible? And I look at my own life, that happened back then. And then you get away from that and your mind wanders and you kind of forget and you're not in the zone and you don't do that anymore. And I could see how it'd be easy to just kind of think, did what all them hundreds of miracles, did that really happen? Years down the road, I'm thinking, but it happened. God hears and answers prayers, and I'm a 100% believer. I don't know if it's God, it's the universe, but there's something out there that hears and answers prayers, and I'm a 100% believer in that. So,
amen. Love that. Man, like we could stop recording right now. I mean, listen, if a video like this doesn't get shared, if a video like this doesn't get clipped, um, it's a tragedy. We spend a significant amount of time. Listen, I got so much crap going on right now. I'm trying to refinance some real estate. I just got off a call. I was late to this call, and it's the stories like this that I hear Terry share. I had no idea about this story with Terry Carter and how many other people have had experiences like this. Um, God is real. God does hear our minds, not just what comes out of our mouth. He hears what's going on here. That's how powerful our God is. And when we concentrate and when we focus and when we exercise pure faith and we just believe, God says, by your faith, I made your grandson whole. God can do all things, but God can do anything when we exercise faith. And so it's because, honestly, Terry, in my opinion, it's because of your faith that God heard your cries. Now, were those cries out loud with your mouth? No, they were in your mind. He is in your mind, and he hears what's going on in here. And so I love the statement, let virtue garnish thy thoughts unceasingly, and then shall your confidence wax strong in the presence of God. Well, maybe God's presence is in your mind. So maybe you should really, really focus on making sure that you, like the prophet says, as cliche as it is, think celestial, think positive, think with faith. Use your mind to exercise faith. If you're going through something right now, maybe it's a financial struggle, maybe it's a health struggle, maybe it's whatever. Focus your mind. You have the power. The power is here. Your faith is here. Focus your mind. Call upon God. Call upon the Most High God to help you with whatever it is you're dealing with. I can tell you this right now. God does not want you to suffer. He doesn't want any of us to suffer. And if we're suffering, it's because we're not exercising our faith and we're not exercising our mind. And I learned that in prison. I learned how to exercise my mind, how to create my own reality inside of the prison I was in. So anyways, okay. With all that said, please share this video, share this story, even if you only watch it to this point because you're not interested in giants and treasures and Nephilim or anything. Watch it to this point. We're at 23 minutes in. That's Michael Jordan's number. So this is a perfect time. But let's go ahead and transition, unless you have other things you'd like to
Yeah, I
share.
got one more because you triggered one more thought,
Let's keep
you
going.
talked about financial difficulties. I had my own electrical contractor company and between a host of a bunch of different things, not knowing what I was doing, not filing liens on time on jobs, I found myself in uh, contractor going bankrupt on me for over 100 grand. This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was a lot of money. And it financially devastated me. And to keep my company afloat, man, I started running on credit cards and to pay my workers to buy the materials. And it just got to be a vicious cycle. And it ended up where I would go to work every day knowing that I would never get paid. I probably should have filed bankruptcy or something, but I didn't. I fought through it and paid everybody off, but it took a couple years. But it got so bad that I would go to work every day knowing that I would never ever get paid, and I'd come home and my power would be shut off, and my wife would be crying, and I'd be scraping together money just to pay the power, and then the gas would be shut off, and the bill collectors started calling me and telling me what a worthless human being I was, and because my credit went way down, then my insurance rates went sky high because I was a bad risk, I guess. It didn't matter that I was in the position that I was in because somebody else didn't pay me, so I couldn't pay them, Didn't matter all that, but I fought all through it, and the whole time I was cursing God, I'd never been depressed in my life, and that depressed me, and this was before 9/11, and I vowed that I would never, ever be caught in that cycle again. And I would never, ever owe anybody any money again. If I couldn't pay cash for it, I didn't need it, and I wasn't going to have it, And so I fought my way out of it. It took a long time, and it devastated me. To this day, I still have a hard time answering the phone. To this day, I still have a hard time opening up my mail because, I remember all them nasty phone calls and letters I got. But I fought my way through it. Well, when 9/11 hit and the things went south, you know, I didn't have a problem at all. The building stopped, the construction stopped, everything in 2008, everything stopped. I didn't have a problem at all because God made me go through the tough times. During the good times, I was able to fight my way out of it. If I'd have gone through the tough times during the bad times, there's no way I could have fought my way out of it. And I was thanking God, when the bad times hit, and I was prepared. It didn't affect me one time. I was thanking God for helping me go through the bad times during the good times, because when the bad times hit, they weren't bad at all. So you just never know what God's going to put you through and why.
I love that.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
That's absolutely awesome. There's a book that I love that is written by it's James Allen. It's a really, really small book. It's called As a Man Thinketh. You're familiar with this book, Shane?
Oh yeah, totally. James Allen is in that same Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill. Like, I've read all of James Allen's stuff. I in prison. It's solid. It's as much scripture as scriptures I read.
Yeah, this is one of the best books I've ever read in my life, and I've read this
As a
probably
man thinketh, so shall he be.
so shall he be. I've read this it's really, really small. It's like you can listen to the whole entire thing in like an hour. And I bet you I've listened to this 150 times, the audiobook. And it's all talking about the power of the mind. And, like it compares in one section, it compares your mind to a garden. And this analogy has been used a lot, but you are the gardener of your mind. And he compares it to a typical garden. If you don't take care of it, the weeds start to sprout, right? And here you are trying to plant your crops, and you're planning on doing whatever it is that you're doing, but yet these weeds start to plant. And he gives this analogy of you have to go in there on a daily basis, and you have to tend your mind. You have to go in there and you have to pluck these weeds out. And it reminded me of it when you were talking about how your mind started to wander, right? You're trying to just focus nonstop, and you're in this crisis mode. But yet, even in this crisis mode, even in the hospital, and you're thinking about the life of your grandson, your mind's just like over here. And it's the challenge that we have as humans, and being able to focus and bring yourself back and be like, no, I'm plucking this seed is so powerful. And it goes down to just like your basic life. Like right now in our days, the four of us, we're going to get off this call and we're going to have to go and deal with work, right? Deal with life, deal with our families, deal with all the things that are happening. And it is so crucial that we daily go in there and we tend our garden, and we're plucking out
Totally.
those bad thoughts. And it's not just the bad thoughts, like whatever that might be, or maybe you're having an impure thought. It's the negative thoughts. Those are the killers. Those are the destructions. Those are the faith robbers, right? These negative thoughts, these doubts, these concerns. And I got really good at plucking out those negative thoughts and not allowing negativity and drama to exist in my life. And, it was kind of hard for me because I had to remove a lot of relationships, and I had to, just tell people like, I'm not going to deal with that. I don't want that in my life. I don't want to talk negatively. I don't want to have drama. And eventually the people that couldn't, bring that into my life, I slowly cut them out. And it's so comforting to be able to feel like you have control of your mental health.
There, there's a great guy out there named Les Brown. He's a friend of mine. I could call him right now. Les Brown is one of the most powerful, positive, um, Tony Robbins-esque kind of speakers. And one of the things that he says, maybe David can clip this in if he'll remember, but Les Brown says this statement. He says, "Get the losers out of your life." That's Les Brown. He's the man. Freaking love Les Brown. He was willing to do some things for my book, and I just said, "Listen, I'm not ready yet, but when the time is right, Les and I are going to join forces and do some work together. He's amazing. But he talks about getting the losers out of your life. I look at life like team positive and team negative. You can call it God and Satan, whatever. I'm like team positive, team negative. I'm on team positive. I fight for team positive. I win for team positive. I focus daily on positivity. How do I do that? By everything I put into my world through the music. Zion Media Music is designed, and this is another plug for Zion Media Music. Zion Media Music is designed to help you water that garden, the garden of the mind. If you listen to Zion Media Music, David can attest to this. David, how's it been since I encouraged you kindly to listen to Zion Media Music instead of whatever that garbage was you were listening to?
It's been good. It's been good. The thing about the Zion Media Music is I understand, and you could correct me, Shane, is you even have certain hertz frequencies in there, and the words of all of the songs are like magical, like written by angels. And it's really powerful when you actually listen to the music and put, how everything is put together.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love that this is where this discussion has gone. Terry, I had no idea that you had read books like Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. Have any of you read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love like the story. And listen, if you haven't read it, this is the one book that I'm like, go listen to it. I think you can even find it for free on YouTube. Outwitting the Devil. Here's the story. In 1937, he has an interaction with somebody who calls himself Satan. And Satan divulges all of his tricks and how he does things and his cunning ways because Napoleon Hill puts him in a position where he has to be truthful. Now, he tells Napoleon Hill, if you publish this, I will destroy you and your posterity. So Napoleon Hill doesn't publish it. And somewhere around 2010, 2011, they find this manuscript and it gets published in 2012. If you've listened to the Screw Tape Letters, that's great. This is next level. If you want to know how your opponent, and I view Satan as I'm playing a game of chess now.
People most
Yeah. Go right there. Whatever is right there is meant to be. Can you play it right there, Trevor? I don't even know what's going to come up, but I know wherever that is, there's something that's important. We're going to listen for 3 minutes just to give you a little snippet of what this is. You're going to have to mark this spot, David, so that the audio is perfect.
And this is just for context. I don't know when the last time I listened to this was, but this is the last time I listened and how far I was. So we'll see if anything good pops up.
susceptible to flattery. Age has nothing to do with one's susceptibility to flattery. People respond to it in one way or another from the time they become conscious of their own existence until they die.
Through what motive can women be most easily flattered?
Their vanity. Tell a woman she is pretty or that she wears clothes well.
What motive is most effective in harpooning men?
Egotism, with a capital E. Tell a man he has a strong Herculean body or that he is a great business tycoon, and he will purr like a cat and smile like an opossum. After that, you know what happens.
Are all men like that?
Oh no. 2 out of every 100 have their egotism so thoroughly under control that even an expert flatterer couldn't get under their skins with a double-edged butcher knife.
How does a cunning woman apply her art of flattery in attracting men?
Great heavens, man, do I have to draw a picture of her method for you? Have you no imagination?
Oh yes, I have imagination enough, Your Majesty. But I'm thinking of the poor dupes of the world who need to understand the exact technique with which they may be flattered into the habit of drifting. Go on and tell us how a woman can harpoon rich and presumably smart men.
Jezebels.
That's right. Okay. What's come to my mind is Mosiah chapter 3, verse 19. It just popped into my brain. And so I'm going to go ahead and read that to see how this, whatever we just heard, what we did here is in my mind, the killing of the ego or maybe the natural man. It says, for the natural man is an enemy to God and has been from the fall of Adam and will be forever and ever. Sorry, my lighting is really bad. Let me turn on my... Okay, there we go. will be forever and ever, unless he yields to the enticings of the Holy Spirit, and then putteth off the natural man, and becometh a saint through the atonement of Christ, the Lord, and becometh as a child, submissive, meek, humble, patient, full of love, willing to submit to all things which the Lord seeth fit to inflict upon him, even as a child does submit to his father. I think what the hardest part for all of us is to drop the ego. And for me, it took, I'll tell you what it took for me. I went to prison. Anytime I had a visitor in front of all the other inmates, after we got done with our visits, I had to take my clothes off. I had to get naked in front of a group of men. I had to lift up certain things, turn around, spread my cheeks, and cough. And I would have a visit twice a week. I had to do that twice a week. And I pray that people don't have to go through that shame in their life like I had to. I had to do it because my ego was as big as the moon. And the Lord inflicted this on me because he knew that's what I needed. And so he says there 2 out of every 100 have their egos in check. So that means 2 out of every 100 have subdued the natural man. That means 98% of us are walking around with our egos out of check. And I tell people this: don't be egocentric, be Christ-centric. If you want to drop the ego, turn to Christ, follow what he did. You can still be a badass. Like, you can still be a confident dude. Meekness isn't weakness. Meekness is strength under control. So anyways, that's interesting that this is where this discussion is going. And honestly, I love this stuff. Listen, I wrote a whole book, The Honest Lie. If you want to understand what went on in my mind in prison, I wrote it in that book. I lose money on that book. So, and if you want the book and you can't afford the book, send me an email. I'll email it to you. I don't care about making money on the book. I care what's inside of the book and how it can impact people's lives in a positive way. That's all I care about. My mission on this earth is to reduce suffering. That's it. That's all I want to do. How do I reduce suffering in any person that I see? And sometimes it sucks. I was in Vegas. I was parked at a light and I saw a homeless person and I knew I had $3 in my glove box. I had cars behind me. It was not convenient. And the Spirit said, go give that man $3. I had to run across the street, give the man $3, miss the light, have cars honking at me, and wait for the light to go again. And it is what it is. It is what it is. So if you get prompted by the Spirit to go do it, go and do it. Go and help. Go and serve. Go and love. Go reduce suffering. That's why we do this Zion Media stuff. Our goal is to reduce suffering. If we didn't have the positive messages coming in about how our content has helped people, I would not do this. I don't wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to do 15 podcasts today. I'm like, oh crap, how am I going to fit in 15 podcasts with everything else I got going on? And somehow the Lord has provided a way. Somehow I've had people reaching out to me offering to give us lots of money for no good reason to help us. They have no idea why they're being prompted to do it. It's incredible. I can't explain it, but I know that our Heavenly Father is working a strange work, a marvelous work that is happening right in front of us. And so I'm grateful to just be the water boy on the team, to be able to participate, to meet guys like Terry Carter and have him share these amazing spiritual experiences that he's had that's increased my faith that God does hear and answer our prayers.
Yeah, and we just did last week, and I think we're going to be airing a couple of them this week. We just did 2 episodes on cancer, right? And the devastation that cancer brings to families, to hope, to faith. And we had 4 people, 3 people on who have beat cancer. You know, one of them in stage 4 lung cancer, 3 months to live. We'll be showing these. Hopefully, I know at least one of them this week. Davey, give me a nod, Davis. By the way, Dave, I wanted to comment. your haircut looks good, dude.
Yeah, he looks better without the hair and the beard. He's better clean shaven. He looks way younger, don't you think?
He
Like
looks
he
young.
took like 10 years off for sure.
And I told him in the airplane going to Kirtland, I said, "Don't cut it." Remember that, Dave? I'm like, "Don't cut it." Me and Keith were both telling you not to cut it, but it looks good. You do look younger, significantly younger. Yeah.
I might grow the beard out one more time, but that's
Yeah.
No, dude, you look well, do what you will. Do what you will.
But my point on all of this is about, just this hope, right? And it's all we need when you're in that situation, when you're in a situation like Barry, just you need something to grasp onto. You need hope. You need faith. And I hope that this story of Terry's will inspire others. In fact, I know it will. I know for a fact, feel it right now, that there's going to be somebody who watched this video, who's in the emergency room, who's just like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do exactly what I just heard Terry do and do it, you guys. Like, call upon the powers of heaven and bend the will of God towards you with your faith, through your faith. Such a cool story. Let's show the little video. It's a 2-minute video. And then we'll talk about giants. How old was he?
He was 11.
Wow.
An 11-year-old boy who was blown off his bike after being hit by a piece of flying shrapnel that looks like this.
Shrapnel hit him on the left side of the body.
Doctors say the injury looked like a war wound coming out of Iraq.
Essentially what happened is he had an IED explode. The immediate threat to his life was bleeding to death.
It exploded, and some of these pieces went flying.
Lehigh police say it was about 8:30 last night in this northwest neighborhood when a 45-year-old man packed a 1.5 foot long, 4-inch in diameter pipe with gunpowder and then lit it. The explosion rattled the whole neighborhood.
We just heard minutes ago from Bridger's mom. Of course, she's here at the hospital awaiting word on her son's progress, but she told us that after 10 hours in the operating room, doctors have just informed her that they could spend another 6 to 10 hours in there working on her son. At this point, she tells us they have reattached his leg. That is good news, although whether or not his leg will be functional after this, that's still in question, but that is good news. They've reattached his leg. They're also working on major damage in his abdominal area, so it's going to be a very long night for Bridger, for his family.
All right.
You know what, Trevor?
Yeah.
You know what? We need to have Bridger on the show.
Oh yes, please.
I don't know, Terry, if he's open to do that. Obviously, the invitation is out there. We would love to have him on and tell it from his perspective.
He might. What I don't know if he. Sorry. He had a lot of courage himself. Everybody told him he'd never walk again. He'd be in a wheelchair, be on crutches, and when he got out of the hospital, he asked me if I'd put a pulley above his bed and hook a rope to it where he could pull his leg up and down. And it hurt him bad pulling his leg up and down, but he'd put a sling around his leg and he'd just pull his leg up and down, up and down, up and down. And then he was bound and determined he wasn't going to be in a wheelchair, so he got on crutches and he walked on crutches everywhere. And then he threw away one crutch, walked on the one crutch, and then he threw away that crutch and he hitchhiked from people's shoulders, from one person to the next. He just grabbed people's shoulders because he was not going to be, in his mind,
You're gonna make me cry.
He wasn't going to be in a wheelchair, and he wasn't going to, and he tried hard. He walks with a bad limp, but he tried hard to hide it. And he's had a lot of pain and a lot of struggles in life, but
That's amazing. How old is he now? So he's 20, 21?
26, maybe 25.
15 years ago. Okay.
So
How's he doing?
he's had a lot of struggles, but he's doing well right now. So yeah, I'll see if he'll talk to you guys.
So I just want to read this in Ralph Waldo Trine's seminal work, Entombment with the Infinite. He anticipates a transformative shift in the field of medicine. He wrote this in 1898, by the way. He envisions a future. So what he saw was a future where physicians prioritize healing the mind, recognizing a profound influence over the body. Trine articulates his perspective, stating, the time will come when the work of the physician will not be to treat and attempt to heal the body, but to heal the mind, which in turn will heal the body. This insight underscores Trine's belief in the interconnectedness of mental and physical health, emphasizing the pivotal role of mental and spiritual well-being in achieving holistic health. I do not believe in pills, powders, or potions. I believe in God. I believe that if we exercise faith like Terry has suggested, our mind can heal our body. I tested my theory. I'm 5'11" on a good day. My first wife is 5'5" on a good day. And my oldest son was born. And I'm like, man, if he could be like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", he's going to be incredibly good looking and an amazing athlete. And I said, I'm going to trick him. I'm going to legit trick him. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to lie to him. It's an honest lie. And the name of my book's called An Honest Lie. And this story's in The Honest Lie. I said, I'm going to tell him that the doctors they performed a test on him and they could predict with accuracy how tall he was going to be. And I figured I'm going to shoot high, like 6'4". So I told him that the doctor said that he would be 6'4". And I told him that over and over and over, and he believed it. And then I would tell him to tell other people, hey, tell him how tall the doctor said you would be. And then other people would be like, oh, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, if you have the right doctor. And they're like, oh, that's cool. My son today, we measured him down in Vegas. He's 6'2", 6'2 and a half. Good looking kid. He's not 6'4", but he's 6'2". And I'm telling you, it's his mind. I didn't tell him that I lied to him until after I got out of prison. He was like 16 or 17. So I might have stunted his growth because I told him that was a lie. But I'm telling you, Napoleon Hill has a story, if you haven't read it. I don't know if you remember this story, Terry, about his son who was deaf and had no ears. And he says, I'm not going to buy the fact that he's never going to hear. I don't believe that. So every night he would lay by his son and he would tell his son, not only is he going to hear, but this adversity would become his greatest strength. And sure enough, not only did he hear, his son created an earpiece or a hearing aid device that made him very successful. So the power of the mind is incredible.
This one here, I don't remember that part. Did he just hearing aids or what was it?
Hearing aids, and they developed a device, and he was able to hear.
I recall, I'm not sure which of these books it was, but I've read some of the books that you guys grew up with. And in one of them, I remember a story of a man who wanted to change the way he looked. People used to make fun of how he looked. He was in a gang, and he ended up moving away. He dropped out of the gang and he went and started a family, and some of his old pals went to go visit him. And when they went to go visit him, they found, in fact, actually before he even left, they would make fun of him for this. He used to wear a mask that would shape his face so he would look different. And then by the time that his pals from his old gang came out to see him, they came to try and bully him, and they asked him to take off the mask. They got him to take off the mask. And he looked exactly like the mask. Actually, he didn't need the mask anymore. He actually shapeshifted. He shapeshifted his face because of his faith.
So I'm just going to read this. Napoleon Hill's renowned for his influential work, Think and Grow Rich, faced a profound personal challenge when his son Blair was born without external ears, rendering him, congenital, I don't know, rendering him deaf. Medical professionals at the time believed Blair would never hear or speak. Refusing to accept this prognosis, Hill nurtured an unwavering belief that Blair could overcome his disability. He endeavored to instill in his son a strong desire and belief in his ability to hear, emphasizing self-reliance and imagination. Through persistent efforts, Blair developed partial hearing and, with the aid of special designed hearing devices, eventually achieved full hearing capacity. This journey not only enabled Blair to lead a normal life, but also inspired him to assist others with similar challenges, exemplifying the transformative power of desire and faith in overcoming adversity. Maybe I made the part up where he made a hearing aid. I don't.
Shane,
But that would have been cool.
the thing that makes me think of this is I don't know. I mean, Napoleon Hill was like this would have been like early 1900s, right? So like technology.
Yeah, when he came out with Think and Grow, which was 1936. So you got to think this was even before that.
Yeah. So this is in the 1920s probably, right? And so just think in our lives, like you have kids, they're struggling with something. What hasn't been invented yet? Right? Like what is about to come out? We're in like the most incredible time in history right now. And there's going to be so many devices with Bobby Kennedy in the White House and all of this Make America Healthy Again and technology. Like there's going to be so many things that are invented.
Listen, I'm already seeing it. I bought toothpaste the other day. I wish I had it with me. It's expensive. And so the challenge that we have right now is to live this higher, healthier life. It costs money. And so that's one of the issues that we need to figure out as a society, how to drive the price of these healthier things down. But I got toothpaste. Guess what the name on the toothpaste is called?
Zion.
David's toothpaste. It's called David. Okay. So I'm like, there's a code. It doesn't have fluoride. It has this like metal thing that comes with it, and you roll the toothpaste up. But it is the healthiest, most organic, best toothpaste. And here's why I know that. I stood in the toothpaste aisle. I took pictures of toothpaste. I uploaded it to my ChatGPT. And I hate even calling it my ChatGPT. His name's Abel. So if I say Abel, just know in the future, that's my ChatGPT. I uploaded it to Abel and I said, I want you to tell me which toothpaste is the best for me. I'm like Colgate. He's like, here's what it's got. It's bad for you. I'm like, okay. And then I try, what's the other one? There was Colgate. Crest. Then I do Crest. Same thing as Colgate. And then I try another one and it's like, well, this is a little better, but it still has this. And then I hit David's and I'm like, well, David is in the Bible. I mean, maybe there's a sign in the name. I take a picture of it. It's like, this is the healthiest toothpaste I've ever even heard about. I can't think of any other toothpaste that would be better for a human than this toothpaste right here. So maybe there's a code. Maybe this matrix has a code. Not maybe. I already know this. The matrix does have a code. And if you know the code, you can navigate, which is what my book talks about, this matrix in an effective way. Now, Trevor, you and I have really only known each other truthfully for the past year. Like we've known of each other our whole lives. But would you say in the last year, we've really gotten to know each other?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I'm big on the manifesting thing.
Yep.
Have you seen things that you can't describe?
Yeah, where there's some crazy manifestation. In fact, so crazy that we keep having conversation being like, should we make bigger goals? And we've created this saying that's called lasso the moon.
We made a song. David, note it. Lasso the moon goes at the end of this. Listen to Lasso the Moon. But explain what that means, Trev.
Yeah, it's just that we've been setting some goals and they've been happening at like a fast clip rate and kind of remarkable where, a lot of times you have things like that happen and you sit down and you're like, did that just happen? Right. And so we said, maybe we should set some bigger goals. And we started setting some bigger goals and they started happening. And so we're like, let's set some huge goals. Let's try to lasso the moon. Literally throw your lasso, grab the moon and pull it down. So it's just like the biggest, most audacious goal that you could ever come up with.
One of the things happened with Terry Carter recently. Literally in my office, I'm sitting down with the CEO of a massive company all of a sudden because of Terry Carter. And they are interested in being a sponsor of and working with us and a partner of Zion Media. And I hate to even announce it right now because we're not totally set up and ready. But I can tell you this, and we're going to have to do another episode with Terry. I'm sorry, we're running up on an hour. But this was exactly what was inspired by the Spirit, and I'm grateful for it. But we have an opportunity that is going to help serve and build Zion. Without a church, like, listen, in order, truthfully, in order for you to really be able to spend time here, you got to get out of Babylon. And so I've been racking my brain of how do you participate in the world, but don't be of the world, right? You guys have heard that statement.
Yep.
Be in the world, not of the world. I mean, that's you can't just pack up unless you're rich already. You can't just pack up and move and get out of Dodge. For most people, they have obligations. They got kids they're raising. They got schools, kids, like their stuff. So how do you create Zion in Babylon? That's been like where I've been at. How do I create Zion in Babylon? How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And as I've asked that question, like Terry talked about, and focused on how do I do this? And said the same thing over and over and over and over and over, things have started to come into our path. One of these is Jason, who's the CEO of a company called 7K. Now, we're going to launch everything once we have everything structured. We are trying to set up our structure, and it's a membership company. I'm not going to mince words. It's a multi-level marketing, network marketing thing. Okay. I've never done one of those. I've refused to ever do it because I'm like, I don't need extra pills, powders, and potions in my life. I don't need that crap. I had a friend who was a Mona V making tons of money. He couldn't even park his car in his driveway. His Maserati could not go in the garage. You know why?
Potion.
He had bottles of Mona V in there. Ridiculous. Right? So I'm like, I'm never going to do any multi-level because all the product that you get, it's useless until I saw what 7K's doing. And, oh, you have some right there.
Go full screen on that. Go full screen on that. Okay. If you go full screen, Dave, you can't tell what this is the artificial planet from Star Wars, the planet killer. And this is pretty big, right? Like, we're not talking a quarter. This is pretty massive. This is 3 ounces of silver. This baby is minted in
Germany.
Can't quite tell where it is, but this is the Death Star, right? This is one of them, just to give you an idea. I'm going to show you a couple others. These are freaking cool. I just thought these were going to be coins, and we went up to Idaho to their corporate office, and I was like, I want that. I want that. This one is freaking cool. This is silver and gold, and this is King Tut. I mean, just look at the intricate.
Freaking Trevor dropped, I don't know, 3 racks up there. Like, I wasn't planning on that, but he's like, Bink, I want.
My internet just go out? Am I here?
You're back now.
Okay. This right here lifts off the coin like a quarter of an inch. I mean, it's just insane. I got this for my daughter. This looks like a diamond, right? This is polished cut silver, just silver. This is the cheapest one that we got, by the way. And it makes it look like a diamond. All of these are minted coins. They're, I don't even know, NGC and GCA certified. So they've got all these things, and they're collector's items. And for us, we're all worried about like the coming financial collapse, right? And
which, by the way, as we're recording this, the market's had a massive sell-off. So it's beginning right now. This is the very beginning. This I can smell it. It smells like 07. That's what it smells like to me.
And I hope we've got a couple of years. Like my crosses and my hope and my bending the will is just like, no, Trump's going to get us at least to 2027.
Right. That's my hope too. But boy, we've seen a little bit of a sell off in the stock market.
$4 trillion.
Yeah, just a little. But I think what's cool about this is it's like, okay, if I'm gonna participate in a company that does this MLM network marketing thing, at least give me something of value. So now we have gold and silver being shipped to us. And it's like a savings account. That's cool. I think everybody in their portfolio should own a little bit of gold and silver. We're not going to get into, we'll do a whole episode on this, but this is one of the miracles that was brought to us by Terry Carter, and Jordan and a group of Zion Media people brought this opportunity to us. And we want to be able to help other people build um, a small business, a little like in prison. You know what they call it, Trev? They call it a side hustle. You got to have your side hustle. So I had a side hustle in prison. I had the store. I also made ice cream as a side hustle. So you got to have your side hustle.
We got to
This
do
would be-
an episode on your store and your ice cream, bro. That was so fascinating to me, how that all
Yeah.
works, underground black market.
Yeah, you got to have a side hustle. And listen, if you could imagine this, if you could make an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month, like what would that do? And I want all the viewers, like that's our goal. My goal, as I said, is to reduce suffering. You know, one way we can reduce suffering, reduce financial stress. And with the cost of David's toothpaste, you're going to need to have extra money in order to afford these things that are healthier and better for you and aren't calcifying that pineal gland.
And I've been,
I'm
you know,
excited
I've
about
been in for 25 years. I've been in New Skin. I signed up in New Skin. My best friend's in it. Never really worked it, but I've got closets full of New Skin stuff that I may or may not. I mean, I'd give it for presents, like you're saying, your buddy with his garage full. But this is different. This is something, you know,
So cool.
Your auto ship, instead of being pills and you know, whatever shampoo, it's an investment. It's like a 401k, right? And
Totally.
we expect that the market is going to go sideways. We expect that the US is going to have a financial collapse. And if it does, there is nothing better to be in than precious metals. I mean, that is proven time and time and time again. So we're excited about this. When we saw it, like both Shane and I were like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this 100%."
Well, the fact that the CEO drove all the way from Idaho Falls to come and meet with us, that's a miracle. Like who are we? We're just a bunch of, like, I'm a podcaster in my basement. Like that's who I am. And I got this CEO guy coming here, who's also a faithful member of the church, served a mission. He also has an incredible story. We'll have him on about using the same techniques that Terry Carter talked about for his daughter who was in a fatal car wreck. And he'll tell that story, how through the power of the mind and the priesthood and God and all that combined, saved his daughter that they had said was going to die. So this has been an amazing episode. Terry, do you have any thoughts or things on 7K and before we wrap up here?
For 7K, I just want to say that you guys figured it out a lot quicker than me. I was the same way. I thought these things are scams. Nobody makes money at these, and you got to fill a garage full of product that you don't use, can't use, or won't use. And it took me a long time to figure this out. But when I figured out the tax benefits, it's a business, and because of the the home-based business, tax benefits, it made this a no-brainer. It's a way that, you can basically get your silver for free, and there's a lot more to it than you guys even know about it. And we'll just leave it at that.
Totally. And we're just barely getting started. We went up to 7K's corporate headquarters just a couple of weeks ago, met with their team. Awesome company and very prudent. I expected to show up to some lavish building that was very ostentatious. But no, it was very practical. It got the job done. And I like that. When I look at a business, I'm looking for people that are prudent, that are smart, and that aren't ostentatious. Why do I know that? Because I was that guy before prison. I had that office. I had that lavish lifestyle, and it's just a facade. It's just a fake. So, okay, cool. Well, this has been an incredible episode.
I do have a video to end on.
Okay, perfect. Pop it in. Let's go. What do you got?
This is a good teaser for us to have Terry come back. And we're locking arms with Terry, and we're going to be doing a bunch of videos with Terry. He knows a lot of people, and here in Utah, and just in the Southwest here, there's so many stories of ancient artifacts, giants, Nephilim, and there's some places that Terry's gonna take us to. Outside of that, there's a bunch of treasure lore here in Utah, in the Southwest, a bunch.
Hey, all I gotta say is that's the coolest thing I've ever done, that you guys make me my own personal music video, and man, thank you. That's pretty cool.
And the cool origin of this video is I made this thinking, and Terry, this is what's really cool about your grandson. And I told you this. I said, I made this video and I thought, this guy has such a cool story, he has such a cool history. Like, I'm gonna make a music video for his grandchildren to just show like how cool your grandpa is and the legacy that this guy has made and is building. And that's where we created this song. So we'll play 30 seconds of it and then we'll come back just so that we get a little taste here. All right, go full screen, Dave.
Way out west where the canyon winds blow, through the mesas and the valleys below, there's a man with a story, a fire in his soul, chasing lost legends and rivers of gold. They say the giants once walked in these lands, left their secrets in the rock and the sand, buried their wisdom where the red cliffs rise, hidden in ruins beneath endless skies. Terry Carter, riding through time, following whispers, reading the signs, digging for truth where the lost echoes call, treasure and legends, he's finding them all. Move where the campfire glows, ancient voices in the canyon below, maps in his hands, dust in his veins, following trails where the secrets remain. Stories of warriors, cities in stone, buried in time, but never unknown. Gold in the rivers, light in the caves, the past never sleeps, it whispers and stays. Terry Carter, riding through time, following whispers, reading the signs, secrets left behind. Every answer, every clue, bringing the past back into view.
Bro, shout out to David. That's maybe the coolest video you made, David.
Hey, I'm a big fan of that. I agree. That is the best video you've made, David.
It totally is.
I'm kind of biased, though. I'm extremely biased.
Yeah. And so we're gonna do some fun episodes with Terry. We're even gonna go out to Catalina Island in California with me, Terry, and Latter-day Chad. And we're going to go look at the giants that used to occupy and live on Catalina Island. Not a lot of people know about it. Go to YouTube and type in Catalina Island Giants, and there are hundreds of videos. In fact, where we lived growing up, Shane and I, the big newspaper here was the Ogden Examiner, the Ogden Standard Examiner. And they, in the 1800s, they wrote an article, one of the first ones, about the giants of Catalina. And, you know, we know that in the Bible, talks about them in the Bible, and there were giants here. And what's the origin? Why is it important? Why is it fascinating? We will be talking about all of that stuff. So we're excited to be friends with Terry. He's a cool dude, and there's gonna be lots more to come, including, I know a lot of you guys have asked us to do an episode on the Dream Mine here in Utah. It's in Payson, is that right, Terry?
It's above Salem.
The Salem Dream Mine. Thank you. And really cool story of the Salem Dream Mine. And we're going to go there in person, potentially with Mike Rigby as well. Mike's got some, you know Mike, right, Terry?
I know his name. I've met him, but I don't know him that well, but I've met him.
Okay. Mike's got some connections down there. The Smoking Prophet, Brian Ferry, is the treasurer of the Dream Mine. The stock is still out there and still being traded. And I came up with this little plan that we're going to secretly buy up all the stock and then release our videos and then pump it. No.
Yeah, you know, the stock in that is crazy. You know, you can't even buy it unless one of the old timers passes on and their kids will sell the stock. But
that's exactly what
and it's, man, between $30 and $50 a share. It used to be. I don't know what it is now, but you know, and it's a crazy story.
It is. It's a really, really cool story. And if it's true, they're gonna discover a vein of gold so fat and so wide that it brings the United States out of financial collapse, all here in Utah.
Hey, how cool would that be, right? Like Donald Trump's like, oh, we've figured out a way to pay $35 trillion. And it was in Utah. That's where it is, right?
Yep, Salem.
It was in Zion.
100%. All right.
Hurrah for Zion. Hurrah for Zion. Let's go. Okay, this has been awesome. I've got another call I got to jump to. I didn't realize it's already 10:30. What an amazing, amazing podcast we had with you today, Brother Terry Carter. Did not see this one coming. I'll tell you that right now. I did not see this. I thought I was going to be checking out, answering emails while Trevor and Terry were talking about giants and treasure hunting.
That's coming. That's
sorry for derailing you.
No, I would much rather talk about this, the power of the mind, the power of faith, the power of our God. I would much rather talk about that. And you got my attention when you started talking about this. And I'm so grateful that somehow the Spirit said, I got different plans for you guys today on Zion Media. And it's an amazing feeling to be constantly guided by the Spirit. I mean, I think we take for granted sometimes to have the constant companionship of the Holy Ghost. So I would ask all of you out there to reevaluate your lives. Ask yourself, am I doing everything in my power to have the constant guiding influence, the indwelling of the Holy Ghost inside of me to direct my path? And there are so many ways. We can check all the boxes in the world. But I'm telling you, to follow the Lord's commandment means when you're parked at a stoplight, you get out and you run across the street and give $3. That's a commandment of the Lord.
We've been talking about this a lot lately. I think a lot of times people get lost in like what does following the Spirit means. A really big important part is actually doing what you're prompted to do. Because when you stop following that prompting, you being at the stoplight, being like, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to get out and doing that. The moment that you stop doing it, you stop getting that decent freedom.
These guys know that's the reason I like to stay in my basement, because I'm like, it's so much work. I have a hard time going out in public because I see need everywhere I go. I see despair everywhere I go. I see suffering everywhere I go. And my heart goes out to each person. So even if I'm not in a position, and that doesn't mean that every homeless person I see, I stop and do that. There are certain instances where I don't have cash. And so it's like the scripture says, if I could, I would. And that needs to be the desire of our hearts. And I'm certainly far from perfect in this regard, but every day I tithe my day. I spend 2.4 hours a day. I tithe my day. I study, I pray, I search, I ponder, I meditate, I manifest, I do all of those things.
2.4 hours. So you include the time that you're asleep. You even tithe your sleep time.
Yeah, I mean, if there's 24 hours in a day, sleep is really important to me too. That's where I really connect with the divine, is in my sleep, because I'm able to travel back home, return and report, get information, and wake up. That's why I'm so focused. Listen, you don't want to miss the bus. Be to bed before 11:11 and you'll catch the bus. If you go to bed after 11:11, you're kind of stuck to, I don't know, the telestial realm. But if you want to catch the bus, 11:11, try to be asleep before 11:11. That's why I'm in bed by 10:33, because I'm trying to catch the bus. I'm not perfect at it, but I do notice a difference when I catch the bus and when I don't catch the bus. So anyways, okay. Thank you all for tuning in. Hey, go back, rewatch this episode. Please, please share it. It doesn't cost you anything to share this. And the faith promoting story that Terry shared with us today has inspired me. It's inspired me to make sure that I am doing more of this, that I am in that part. And it's okay to say the same thing over and over and over and over to bend the will of God, because he's happy to bend his will if we have faith in him and we believe in him. Oh, Trevor's got something else. Oh, also, yeah, go subscribe. Go follow Terry Carter. Go check out his stuff. He's got some amazing stuff. And we're excited to dive into his stuff as well as Trevor.
100,000 subscribers, Terry, is that right?
I just got 100,000 subscribers on Facebook and YouTube. So yeah.
Pretty incredible. I look at us and we are small potatoes compared to the great Terry Carter.
Oh no, not at all, man. It's
Well,
not
he's
me,
put in
it's
the
the
work.
people I know. It's the people I know like you.
Yeah, he's put in the work too. Listen, he's been doing this for 15 years. He knows YouTube, and really cool to see a guy with his color hair with 100,000 subscribers. That means anything is truly possible. So, anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Again, like this, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, share the message, get the word out. Let's build Zion. Let's not wait for any organization or institution to build Zion. Let's build Zion together. With that, I say these things in the name of, just kidding. We'll see you guys next time. For myself, I'm Shane Baldwin. For David the Lion Douglas, Trevor the Key Keys, and Terry, the real life Indiana Jones Carter, we'll see you guys next time.
Hey, thank you guys.